I do want to emphasize that we are going to continue to seek developers, seek financing, sustainable financial plans and models for the redevelopment of that of the Gym City High School building. That is ultimately what we want to see happen. So rest assured, hopefully that is the outcome.
The city should have never allowed that building to hang open the way it is and to continue to ignore their own codes by not properly boarding the building. Every window, every opening of that building should be boarded. It should be stabilized, because what they've essentially allowed is demolition by neglect, their neglect. The second point I have to make is do not use failures to validate or make an argument for demolition. The ECHI building was email went out earlier today from the city, and it said, oh well, we tore down the ECHI building, we tore down building 26, we tore down this building, so if we tore down those, I guess that we can let this one go. And the ECHI building, the city would enforce codes against an intransigent owner. Then when they took proper title of the building, they wouldn't do anything to stabilize the building. They wouldn't even bother to save the facade, and that facade was very important as a gateway to South Park Historic District. It was politically expedient to take it down, and no matter what anyone said, it came down. That doesn't validate the need for every other building.
So this building was labeled industrial because of the Gym City ice cream, and it was labeled contributed. So the nomination only mentions the Wright brother being at that address, but in the nomination it doesn't really talk about a whole lot the history of this building and the Wright brothers. Again, the concept is if the Wright brothers came back, would they be able to recognize that building? And the irony is, you have a National Register building based upon the industrial building. You have to tear a National Register building down in order to get to the three walls of the Wright Brothers building. The question is, would that building be eligible for the National Register? I personally believe not. I think the state will actually rule on that decision and make some decision on that. That's what this public hearing is part of it, is to bring public comment on the historical structure, and they can rule on it. But one of the problems they're going to have is the integrity question. If you rebuild the facade, you're making a false impression that that facade is what the Wright brothers touched. It's like Disneyland. You're making a replica of what was there. You're not actually making existence of what was there. So you're bringing a false impression to people that that's what it looked like. No, because that's modern materials. That's not the same bricks they touched. It's different. And so that's the problem with integrity and the structure of the building.
You're representing a lot of cyclists who are concerned about the connection between this building and the Wright brothers, and the fact that the Wright brothers did get started as bicycle shop operators and mechanics, and we want to preserve that connection. I'm also representing a good friend, Amanda Wright Lane, who's the great-grandniece of Orville Wilbur Wright. Amanda apologizes. She would like to be here with us tonight, but she had a prior commitment. She is out of town, but she does want to say that she supports the preservation of this building. In fact, she's the one who got me involved with the building in seeking to preserve the building. And so we definitely want to do everything that we can to help the city in any way, to preserve this building. We do want to think twice before we lose another important historic landmark in Dayton, as we lost Orville's lab right up the street here. We can't afford to lose any more of those connections with these internationally renowned inventors who changed the world forever. And when all of these connections are gone, they will be gone forever. We cannot afford to let that happen. Thank you.
I appreciate the presentation. I heard at the beginning that the city is doesn't want to tear down the building unless it's necessary. I was glad to hear that. And I saw the pictures where where it seems to be open to the weather. And Mr. Smothers, you just said that it's deteriorating in the weather. So what is the property owner doing to put a stop to the deterioration? I guess that would be my question. If the city doesn't want to tear it down and is hoping it can be preserved, but it's deteriorating, we need to see that changed. It needs to be boarded up, or it needs to be repaired, or whatever it is. Question for Mr. Smothers, is there a basement in the building?
Yes, there is.
There's a basement in the building. We didn't see any pictures. Have you been down into the basement?
I've had pictures. I don't think I went down to the building, but I have seen pictures, yes.
Okay.
You went up tonight and asked just a short question about the basement. What was the significance of your question?
I thought it was kind of strange when the building has a basement and the main presenter from the City of Dayton hasn't even been in it, yet he feels confident in talking about the structural integrity of the building. I thought there was a pretty glaring gap in the presentation that the city made.
Did you think the city had a predetermined idea of what was going to go down, or what is going to go down?
I think certain people in the city government do, but not the city representatives that are here tonight. A very good session. I think we heard a lot of the right things. I think that the city now doesn't have any doubt in its mind that there are people who can save the building and put it to better use.
Thank you for your time.
I'm here speaking on behalf of my experience with renovation of deteriorated industrial buildings and on behalf of Preservation Dayton, Inc. also. We became aware of this pending 106 review fairly recently, and with the advice and conversations with Michael Perkins, began advising him on techniques and strategies to involve in a rehabilitation effort. To that extent, I would like to indicate that Preservation Dayton is going to assist Mr. Perkins in a concept for the saving and the renovation of this building, along the lines of a personal experience I had with a similar conditioned building in the Huffman Historic District. That property was known as the multi-serve site and was in far, far worse condition than this site is at this point. We'll be advising him on a structured and phased redevelopment plan, which doesn't take anywhere near the amount of money that has been cited. These multi-million-dollar figures are not really serious. Those are numbers that are made up to fit a predetermined outcome. You don't spend $4 million renovating a building of that sort. There are options to save this building well short of the kinds of projections that have been made in the past. But there really is no reason for this 106 review to go forward at this point. With regard to the need for a demolition, I really think that is incumbent upon the current owners of the site, the City of Dayton, to have secured the building and closed the building as they expect all of us to do with our buildings. The fact that the city hasn't done that means that the city is negligent and the city needs to correct that. With regard to the structure of the building, the statements have been entered that the building is unsound and unsafe. I was in the building, all through the building today. It is nowhere near that kind of a state. So at this point, I think what the city ought to do is remove this request from their agenda and begin working with Preservation Dayton and Michael Perkins to effect a more reasonable outcome. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm all for preserving or restoring the building. But in the last 10 years, they've had people look at this thing and look at it, and nothing's happened yet. I own the building right next to the Gem City building. I'm an insurance agent. I can't protect my building because of the openness of the Gem City building. I would have thought that the city would have secured it or done something because it is a liability. We've got, when the wind is blowing, we've got pieces falling from the building. And it's just waiting for something either to hit me or my employees or hit one of our cars. I've seen homeless people going in and out of the building. I've seen drug deals take place in the building, which, doesn't make sense. So my thing is, either do one or the other, preserve the building, restore the building, or tear it down, do something. Thank you.
What does the city have to lose with regard to this project? The property hasn't generated one dime of income, it hasn't created one job. It's been on the property tax rolls for the next 10 years. 50% of the property tax money goes to the schools, it's affecting our school system. And we've offered some protections, I think generous protections to the city in reference to this property. I would also make the point that the public money is associated with the demolition. And I understand that some of those monies are federal monies, but that's still public monies. And of course, there'll be a contribution from the city, maybe a couple $100,000, which is also public money. So I have to ask myself, demolishing the building, turning it into an empty lot, which may sit there. I've got some lots in my neighborhood that have sat there, commercial lots, for 50 years. And I just have a hard time understanding why we would consider turning it into a lot and trying to find someone to, in the future, to take the property.
I had a question for you. You had said that, the city doesn't need to go through this again by destroying something that it could have saved. Tell me about your testimony.
What I see is many years ago, Mr. Ford came here and took the first bicycle shop away from Dayton.
Yeah.
Dayton officials let that happen. Now they're saying let's tear down this second bicycle shop, and I'm saying don't make the same mistake because we have a replica of the first building. We should have had the original. Now we have a chance to keep the original second building, and that's just what I think they ought to do, is keep their heritage.
Do you think they came here tonight with a predetermined view on things?
Yeah, I kind of do. They're saying they're trying to save money. Would they say 150,000 to tear it down, and maybe 150 to 200,000 to save it?
Yeah.
What's the question here? Save it. Absolutely save it.
Alrighty, you set it up.
We don't need to tear more things down, and it's being done all over, and we don't have to do it here in Dayton. Probably some of you know that in Columbus, if you want to get a building permit, and some of the things to build new houses and so forth, like doing all that, guess where you go? You go to a former high school to do it. It's sort of on the edge, but there's plenty of parking there. And if you want to see the fire department headquarters in Columbus, where do you go? It's a high school that was abandoned. They made it into that. It's convenient for customers to park there and so forth. So I don't know why Dayton wants to tear everything down. We need to keep, especially how can we think of tearing down that building of the Wright building?
You can have a take it down. How come we can't do something over here on this part of town? In other words, there is a place for that building and a need for that building. This building can be the first step in this neighborhood of doing something positive besides just tearing down another building and saying, well, now we have space to build for someone to come in, which means you have to pay somebody to come in. But that's what usually happens in our neighborhoods. I say pay someone to come in, we have big tax cuts, get them to move from one city to our city to do something. No, we lose business because we don't pay them to stay. You know, like NCR. They left and got paid to leave. Other cities, different companies come in because they offer them more money to do something. But what are we offering? What are we offering people that is here now? And that building is staying under the pretense of historical. Now we want to spend money on tearing it down. Now we're saying it's not historical anymore because only 3 walls there. Why did we save it in the first place? Only the 3 walls in it in the past. The same 3 walls that were there when we said that was historical. The same 3 walls there when we said Gym City ice cream was there. And the same walls was there now when we said we want to tear it down. But each time those 3 walls became valuable to whoever wanted to use them. 3 walls to save it, 3 walls to tear it down. Was there not enough historical in it to save it? Never going to tear it down. There was enough historical in it when we were going to save it in the past. Well, we're going to make a decision. And the decision either the building is worth something or it's not worth anything at all. Thank you.
I grew up on Gem City ice cream. I ate a lot of it, and I can tell you there's never going to be another ice cream to compare. Have we ever thought of approaching companies like Young's Dairy, Grader's Ice Cream to come in there? And if you had just a small, an ice cream space and the bike rental, like he's talking about, we stabilize that building and start up small. I'm a Field of Dreams person. I believe if you build it, they will come. And I have watched this city. This city is not just rich in historic buildings, it's rich in historic people. And we're destroying building after building that these people had a great effect in. We tore down building 26. We're talking about tearing down Julian High School. We tore down E.J. Brown School, which was built by, I can't remember his first name, Pressingham, who was a renowned architect. These are famous people. You can't get this back when it's gone. We have been fighting for almost 17 years, I believe, to get a non-significant structure in Huffman removed. No historic significance whatsoever, and we've had to jump through hoops. And yet we have a building associated with one of the most famous 2 men ever, and we're going to look at tearing